What's up, y'all? We are back for my Astro segment, and today we are going to dive into the eighth house. Now, we just went in depth about Scorpio, and Scorpio is the ruler of the eighth house as well as Pluto and Mars. Eighth house is all about what we can find in our intimate relationships with people. So, we came from the seventh house, which was about where we found our partner. Eighth house is about the secrets that happen within our marriage, the things that are not as open to the public. Eighth house is also the house where we can find joint resources. So if you think about the second house, Taurus, Venus, it was all about how you made your own money, how you got your own material wealth and shared that with someone. Eighth house is about how can I gain more through my partner. So eighth house is really where you can find a lot of wealth. And wealth not also through your partner, but also through death, because eighth house is about death and transformation. Scorpio being the ruler of this eighth house, it is also about intimacy. How can we have deep, intimate relationships? Not where we're attracting someone, but where we're intertwining our soul with another person, because Scorpios want that on such a level, intertwining of souls to have deep, intimate relationships. And in order to have deep relationships, you have to be willing to be vulnerable. So in the eighth house is where you'll find a lot of fears and phobias, because in order for us to truly be intimate with someone, we have to expose every aspect of ourselves. And like I said in the Scorpio video, Scorpios are known for withholding information out of fear of how they will appear. But in order to have that deep, intimate relationship with someone, you have to be willing to be vulnerable. You have to open up and expose those parts of yourselves that you might deem as being dark. And it might be dark, but it has to come to the surface. And eighth house being the house that signifies trauma, fear, and phobia is the house where we have to dig a little bit deeper within ourselves to find the root as to why we are so terrified of appearing a certain way, why we are so terrified ultimately of surrendering to the unknown and really moving with the flow of life. Eighth house is a fixed water house. So if you have a lot of planets in this house, it is safe to say that you have a fixed way of how you view your desires. You have a fixed way of how you view the things that you're afraid of, how you view intimacy. And you might crave that with having so much energy in that house. You could be a person that really wants to intertwine with someone, wants to get married, wants joint assets, or a person that gains a lot of money, of finances through multiple people. Like I said before, this is the house of death and transformation. So if you also have a lot of planets in this house, expect to have a lot of change. Scorpio is the sign that reminds us you have to go through change in order to be a higher level of yourself. Change is not avoidable. Death is not avoidable. Pain is not avoidable. And eighth house really teaches us to lean in to that discomfort. Instead of avoiding it, instead of trying to hide, lean in. And through leaning in, you will find your personal power, and you'll realize that nothing outside of you can destroy you. You are the person that is the scientist, the creator, and the alchemist of your life. Because eighth house is a water house, it is known as being ancestral and karmic. And a lot of our trauma, both psychological and emotional, are held in this eighth house. And it's a lot of things that was passed down to us as well from either ancestors or directly from your parents. And they are the roots to the fears and phobias that we might have when it comes to intimacy or anything in general that we need to have control over. It is because there's deep-rooted psychological issues that we haven't gone through. So check out your eighth house. Check to see if you have Pluto in that eighth house, especially if you have the sun in the eighth house, because remember, the sun likes to shed light. So the sun wants to bring all of those things up. So if you have the sun in the eighth house, really check in to see what fears and phobias do you have about any aspect of your life. Where do you always try to have control? and lean into the idea of surrendering so that you can fall deep to the root of your psychological and emotional trauma. Because eighth house is about what's hidden, it is also the house that rules occult sciences. So maybe studying astrology, maybe studying magic. And because Scorpio rules the genitals, it can also be taboos pertaining to sex, sexual desire, sexual inhibition, sexual pleasures. And these are things that you don't usually know about people until you really get to know them on a deeper, more intimate level. Maybe if you have Venus even in this eighth house, right? Really tap into what is it that you truly find pleasurable. And that could be power, that could be money, or that could be sexual experiences on as a way to intertwine with another person's spirit. All in all, the eighth house is really about how we share our resources with someone else, how we intertwine with another partner, and how do we learn more about our own personal power through being vulnerable, through exposing those darker areas of ourselves, and most importantly, through being honest and being steadfast in what we want and how we want to create that world, creating it through alchemy, through transformation of ourselves so that we can transform the exterior world. All right, that's all we have today for the eighth house. Remember, eighth house is ruled by Scorpio as well as being the office of Pluto and Mars. Next, I'm going to dive into what the planet Pluto signifies and what to expect if you have Pluto in certain aspects of your chart. My name is Sade, and thank you for joining.